Hello, welcome to this video on how to make the Dark Ops Basilica Potentium building from the new Dark Gothicus range. This particular video is different than the other ones because it focuses on a different type of building. There will be one video that covers the assembly for 3 of the other types because they're pretty much the same method. But this one has obviously some card for the generators. What you get in the set is you get 2 of the main generators for the main building. This set, like all the sets in the Dark Gothicus range, comes with the ruin as well, so that you can either field both buildings at the same time if you want to spread out your terrain and make more of a board, or if you're using advanced rules for certain games where you can destroy buildings, you can leave the ruin off the table, obviously, and field the main building. When it gets destroyed, replace it with the ruin. The ruin has got some extra details in there that you can put in to make it look like the generators have destroyed. And what I've done on this one is I've put some 25mm blue foam in the base, which I've just carved with a knife, and then I've covered it with PVA, got some various substrates, sand and grits, sprinkled them all over, let it dry, filled up all the gaps in, and then sprayed it all with car primer. And I'll probably have a little painting tutorial on here as well. If not on this video, it'll be on a separate one. But the paint schemes you've seen on the cover art is very simple to achieve. Okay, so we've got 3 main sprues in this kit. They're quite detailed. So you've got, like I say, this is the main building, so we'll be needing that one. This is the other parts of the main building. There you can see the floor, which we're going to start with, 2 end caps, some structural supports, the sort of tower areas, the heatsink, and the side walls. It's tried to simplify things where you haven't got to insert separate fans, it's all cut in there. And that's the top floor. Okay, the next one here we'll leave off because this is the ruin, and it's a fairly standard affair. Once you've done the main building, this one goes together exactly the same, but obviously there's less of it. I'll put that one aside for now. Tools that I'm using a very good quality wood glue. This is the one we recommend, but there are other ones available. We've got an old emery board, an old paintbrush, some tweezers, get any difficult areas, and a tray with some glue in it. Take care when you're popping some of these out. There's very small tabs that we put in to try and make it easy for them to pop out. But sometimes you just need to look where they are before you start flexing pieces, because these are quite detailed fine kits. So we'll need the base piece, we're gonna need the end walls, we'll need these popping out, and then we'll also need the main side walls from the other sprue. So I'll pop those out and then we'll come back. We don't need to pop out at this point the detailed sheet, which is it's basically a replica of these but with the details on it, because these are double, sometimes triple skinned for extra detailing. So we need to pop out the main undetailed ones. Okay, so the floor panel, you'll see there's 2 floor panels. The one for the ruin has got these markings in here for the small short stacks. We don't need that at the moment. The main one we need for the main building has got these little cutouts on it here. Okay, you want the two end pieces. You want the main bottom floors and the upper ones with the towers. These are pushed out ready because these are going to be slotting in here and like this. And what I do, it's very quick and it's worth doing because it'll give you a nicer kit and a better fit. We do try and put the tabs in places that aren't going to be too difficult to clean off or foul the joint. So what you do there, see there's a little bit of a nub, just get that and that's it. A little bit of a rub takes it completely off. And here, just on here, and that's it. Do that on all your pieces, just go around. Don't forget to wear a dust mask. Use a well ventilated room. Take them all off very quickly. So I'm going to continue doing that. Back in a second. Okay, I'm going to start with an end piece. I'm just putting PVA on this because it's mainly glue and hardly water because it's proper PVA. You don't need to put tons of it on and it won't warp the MDF because it's soaking up loads of water. Put it on all contact surfaces and the little tabs there. You don't need too much. The one with the external etching on is the one that goes outside. I'm going to put that on this end. Doesn't matter which end you start from because it's the same. Okay, we're using PVA for the reason that if you use super glue it will dry very quickly, be very rigid, and if you're trying to move pieces into position you've got no time, and also it will get brittle over time. This stuff is we found to be really good for this kind of thing. Again, detail the etch there. I'm going to put that this side. These, I don't think it matters which way they go in because they're the same. And they just go into the ends there. And they'll go into the little tabs there. So I'm going to locate those in, both sides. Like so. I'll be back. Okay, so there's the basic structure. I've gone a little bit overboard with the glue there, but we're not going to worry about that. Next part, we're going to add the interior supports. Doesn't really matter about keeping them straight. Just put a little bit of glue down the wall, get them as straight as you can. And then, okay, so put the supports in, put a little bit of glue on the edges. And then you want the holes facing the top, and because the glue is still a little bit wet you can nudge these walls out a little bit. But there's a little bit of flex in this also, if you want to just flex it in. Be careful you don't break it in half. And then just clean off any excess, and that's what you're looking at. Okay, doesn't really matter if these don't line up because they're only there just to give a bit of extra strength to the building, to stop it from pushing in, that's all. Okay, and then on the insides will be popping out on this section that's got these squares. You're going to be pushing these out. Put some glue on the insides of those, like that. You can even do it at this stage if you want before you put the top piece in. And then you're going to be pushing these in sideways just to go in and cover those holes on the inside. Okay, so a few blobs of glue. Slide it in sideways. What it does is it also helps to keep these pieces straight. And on this side you'll see it gives you a little bit of an indented detail. Okay, so we're just going to put those in. And as you can see, we've got both sides in now. I've put the triple section of door in so you get that effect. Put more glue around it. And now before these get too rigid with the glue drying, you get this piece. Now you want the lines where the towers are, because that's where the heatsink goes. These are where we build on the generators. And these obviously line up with the tower. So what we're going to do now is put some glue on the ends, and then we're going to locate it in before these get too tight. A little down here. We should be good to go. Okay, so now we're going to try and locate it in. Okay, all these tabs will be covered with the detail sheets, so don't worry about those. Same with all this here. And that's where we are at the moment. That's the main core structure of the building complete. Just a few little pieces that I've missed there with the emery board. Just tidy them off as you see them. Right, now we're going to make the insides of the towers. What you'll need, these pieces here. So these only go in one way. You want to try and get the line facing longitudinal. Put a little dab of glue on. Put them in there. Just ease those apart a little bit. I actually broke that one off, but it doesn't matter. I'm heavy-handed. It'll still hold on with the other one. Try and do this one properly. Very fine pegs. There we go. And next up, you want a positive and a negative. The ones with the cutouts with the tab in the middle will go on this side. See the little cutout there? That sits on this end wall. So we'll start with that one. Okay. And then the positive one. Quite difficult getting the 4 pegs lined up, but they do go in. If you're having problems with them, what I would suggest is that you just cut 2 off either side. It won't make any difference really. If you are struggling with them, just cut 2 off either side. There's 4 pegs in just to give it extra stability, but they come off quite easy. You could always use a bit of emery cloth on them. So I'm going to do the other side. I'll come back to you. Okay, so the tower's complete. We'll move on to the heatsink. Now the heatsink has a little cutout here. That's the part that goes on this side here. It's also, there's 2 different sizes of the main parts. 2 of them have got little cut-offs. Those are the ones that go on this end, starting with the very end one there. Okay, those are the ones that go right at the end, the ones with the cutouts. So those 2 go in there, and the other ones get slotted in there. Build the heatsink first, and then we'll slot it in. Okay, so that's completed the heatsink. We're just going to slide it into position and drop it into the slots. Have a wiggle on each of these little pieces while they're still wet, and they should drop into place. Make sure they're all pressed in to the groove. There you go. Okay, now we're going to work on the exterior detail. At this point, if you're planning on doing a sort of two-tone scheme with your paint job, you could spray all this one colour, and then while these are on the sprues and all the exterior detailing, spray them a different colour, and then as you glue them on, you've got an instant contrast. And what I'm going to do is what I did with the ones before. I'm just going to assemble it all in one go, and then I'll just touch things up with a paintbrush. So these, give them a clean. It's very quick. Make sure there's no bits sticking out. The little tab holes facing upwards. This is going to fit in there. You will have to just pick it up in the middle and just flex it very, very slightly to get it to pop in. And it pops into place and sits there. Obviously you're going to put some glue under there. These, I would advise that you pre-assemble these. So those bits stick on there like that. It is best to pre-glue those. And then how it works is that they stick into there, and this piece here slots behind that tab there. A little groove slots behind it and locks into place. Okay, keeps everything nice and tight. So I'll make some of these up and then we'll come back. Okay, so we're going to start at this end. We pre-assembled these, put a little bit of glue on them, and then just pop them down behind. Make sure they're in tight. Try and get these pieces lined up with spikes, and don't put too much glue on like I have. And that's what we're after. So I'm going to pop those in there while this is still a little bit wet, so it's got a little bit of movement to lock into place. And then we'll come back. There we go. Lined them all up. Made sure they're all pushed down tight enough. Locked everything into place. That's the main structure. Like I say, you could paint it at this point or the point just before you put these on. It's entirely up to you. Because the next parts are little rings that go around there, the details that go around here, and the side pieces of detail, and the 2mm skin that goes on. But in this instance, we're just going to stick it directly on. So next up, we will make the generators. Okay, so the generator sprue, you pop them all out. And between the two sheets, there's enough to do the 2 generators for the main building and 1 sort of piece of scatter terrain which you put in with the ruin of the second building. Okay, each generator side consists of one of these and the interior detail. So that one will sit on the inside of there. There'll be a reverse there with the cardboard going over the top there, and then the rest of it is just, each generator has 2 of these with 2 side pieces, a top which is the one with the 3 rings on it, 2 sides These are what we're going to use just to, these just support the PCs and hold them apart. But it'll all come, it looks complicated, but it isn't that complicated when we get down to it. Once you've done one, you'll be away. If you look on here, how we're going to get started. Let's try and zoom in a little bit. Going to get these PCs. Going to put it in there. Get the internal PCs, which are these ones. There's only really one place they can go. Might put a dab of glue on there just to help it to sit straight. This one in this instance will be detail outside. Put this spot here. Okay, so now coming this way, you'll need this one. This one with the detail on this side. Put a few blobs there just to help us. Now we can pinch it because the piece in the middle keeps it nice and rigid. So if you look in here, that's where we're at. Okay, hopefully you can follow along. The next piece is going to be this little triangular part that goes in there. So you can use tweezers if you like, you could always use them. I'm just putting it into the glue. You don't need too much glue. Sorry, just nudging the camera tripod there. So there's the two little T-pieces, which are the bases. Then you want these. So what I'm going to do, because it's a little bit stiff, like with any of these, just going to give the tab a little bit of a tickle with the memory board, just to see if it helps. Which it does. Same again. This one's probably going to be the most difficult. I think on the next one, what we'll do is we'll try and assemble this part before we sit it down. See if that's an easier method. Possibly that's the way I did it last time, but I have slept since then. Get the tweezers. Okay, and then this piece here with the three holes on it, the three etched details, is the part that sits on top. Okay, so now we're going to do it the other way around. So the etch details, that side. In fact, I'm going to put some there now. Any surface contact will help you. Oh, missed a piece off. This one. Then this one. Quite hard with the tripod in the way. Okay. This one facing this way. Okay, just make sure they're sitting nicely. And then there's two of these, one for each far end. It's just a little bit of a detail. So slides down there. Just make sure it goes into the little slot. Actually, maybe I should have given it a little bit of a rub with the emery board, but it seems to have gone in now. The tolerances are quite tight on these kits, but they have to be, because if we make it so that every single board will always just slot straight in, most of them will just flop about like Flag Day, and you don't want that. So sometimes you do have to just give it a little bit of a tickle with some emery board, but as you can see, it's very quick. Okay, so that's that part, which is the generators. We're going to rinse repeat to do that one. Before we do that, I'll show you what we do with the card. Put a few little spots down the end tabs. Put some over there. And then you don't want to pull too much on this. You just want to slot it in there. Hold it in place. Fold it around. And then just go to tweezers and just tuck the end in. Now if it's all pressed down enough, it should be exactly in position, like so. You can always just give it a little nudge with the end of your tweezers, but don't push on it too much. Just make sure it's sitting nice on the groove. And there you go, that's your generator. So we'll rinse, repeat, we'll do the other side. The only other thing I've got to do, which I've almost forgotten, is you need to get these. Little dab of glue. Stick them on. Same for the other side. Rinse, repeat with the other generator. Okay, so there's the generators done. The next step will be to put the exterior detailing on. So I'll poke out some of the details and then we'll stick them on. Okay, so we're going to put these side trims on. Be very careful when taking them off the sprue because they can break quite easily. There's two tabs, one either end. Just twist them slightly each end. Don't put too much pressure on because, as you can see, it's a very, very fine detail. And we're going to put a little bit of PVA on, not too much. I don't think it's squirting out everywhere. And this one goes on that side there, one goes on there. You may have to just give it a little bit of bit of pressure as you go along, just to get it to sit in. I think I did it last time was tuck the top under, tuck it under first, and then pop it in at the bottom was the best way of doing it. You have to be very careful because it is quite tight. If it's too tight, then you should give it a little bit of a tickle with the emery board. So you can always dry fit it first. And don't let it concertina because it is quite fine. You've got to make sure it fits around the doorways correctly. And that it's all pushed in underneath the roof. It's a nice tight fit. And there you go. So do the same on the other side for that one. So the pieces we need, now when you're poking these out again, these are very fine pieces. When in this state, they're quite fine once you've glued them on. Obviously, this one for the end, this one for this end. We'll stick this one on first to line it all up nice and square so that we can stick on the pieces around these chimney stacks because they, as you can see, sit in. So you've got to make sure this goes on straight. So stick those on first. Okay, so the end pieces are on, the sides are on. Now these pieces, the one with the long one, with the big cutout, you just dry fit them to make sure they go on. Goes on this side. The one with the triple cutout goes on the opposite side, down here. If it gets a bit tight, just give it a little bit of a sand on the inside to get it to slot between the pieces. And then on this back side, the fatter one with a little cutout sits in there. So I'll stick those on now. Okay, there's the finished building with the cladding. I put the archway around there. There's the detail piece there I've added on. I've added on all the little circular details. The one on the back. I've just got to add in now the few pieces on the generator. We're all done. Okay, so we're all done now. Hope you've enjoyed the video and been able to follow it. If you want a brief description of how I paint them, essentially some black cheap car primer, and I'll give it a blanket coat, thin layers to cover every single part of the model in black. Let that dry, and then I get grey car primer. And what I'll do is I'll just do quick passes, very fast passes at different angles, doing lines across, rotating the building as I go. And what you're doing there is you're putting different layers of colour down. You don't want to cover the model completely, you're just trying to catch areas of it. And that way you'll get some of the depth and the shadow left in from the black. And it does all the work for you then. And then after that, it was just a case of picking out all the gold details of the trim. I airbrushed the generators white, and then I hit them with some glazes just to give them some blue effect. And then I hit the gold with some Reichland Flesh Shade wash, and then highlighted it again with a lighter gold. And that was it really for those, because I wanted to get them on the table, get the table ready. Obviously with the layers of depth, if you want to do more detail you can pick out all the fans and that kind of thing. The ruin goes together exactly the same as this, but obviously you're just making the core tray with the skin on it, and then you'll see the details for the generator that you can make one half of the generator. And like I say at the beginning of the video, on this particular one I've put 25mm layer of blue foam in there, cut to size, carved it all out, put some grit on it, and then I've buried the detail pieces in there to look like it's collapsed in on itself. And that's generally it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it easy to follow, and thanks for looking at Dark Ops products. Thanks for watching.